Hi, 5th graders! My name is Ma'am Trisha, and I'm a Peace Corps volunteer in the Philippines, and I teach grade 6 English classes.
Hi, I'm Sir Ryan, and I'm a Peace Corps volunteer in the Philippines, and I teach grades sophomore, junior, and senior at a high school in NTK in the Philippines.
So we know that you and Miss Costco work together to write down some of your questions, so Sir Ryan and I are going to answer those now. So our first question is, how do students get from home to school, or to and from home and school? You want to answer this?
Sure. So in my community, there's a lot of farming. So some students will ride on their parents' motorcycles, and other students will just walk. And so since I live in a rural area, that can be a few miles. So sometimes students will have to leave school a little bit early to get home, or they'll have to leave their houses early in the morning to get to school in time.
And I live in a city, so a lot of students will ride on tricycles, which are the motorcycles that have a sidecar attached. Miss Costco probably showed you a picture. So they will get into the sidecar, or on the back of the motorcycle, or on top of the sidecar, and then they'll ride home. And we also have what are called jeepneys, and those are long buses that have open windows and an open back, and then 2 benches inside, and you get in and you sit on the benches and you pay a little bit of money, and then it takes you home that way too. And then kids also walk home in where I live too. Ready the next question?
Sure. Our next question is, what holidays do they celebrate and how do they celebrate them?
Okay. The biggest holiday in the Philippines is Christmas. They celebrate it during the Burr months, so that means they start in September. They celebrate September, October, November, and then of course in December. And sometimes they even keep their Christmas trees and Christmas lights up through January. So we really celebrate Christmas about half of the year. And there's presents, lots of lights and decorations. They go to church every morning for the 9 days before Christmas at dawn. So usually that's about 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning, and that will bring you good luck. Lots of fireworks, and of course lots of food.
Another big holiday is All Souls Day and All Saints Day. So they don't really celebrate Halloween, but then on November 1st and 2nd is a really big tradition where everybody will go to the cemeteries, and depending on where you live, up north, for example, in the mountains, they'll light fires at all of the cemeteries because they believe that fire scares away bad spirits. But in the areas where Trisha and I live, they have a tradition where they go and spend the whole day at the cemetery, and they'll stay maybe even sometimes overnight, and it's like a party at the cemetery where you're celebrating the life of the person that you lost.
Yep. And then the other really big holiday there is everyone's birthday. So on your birthday, you are the one who throws everyone else a party, and you pay for all the food, and you provide fun music and karaoke, and then everybody will bring you presents, and you eat open presents, and you sing karaoke there. So that's also a really big holiday. Okay, our next question is, how do you get there on the airplane? So we can talk about the route that we took.
Sure, so we flew first from our sites on an island called Panay. We flew out of Trisha's site, which is called Rojas City, and we flew from Rojas to Manila, and then from Manila to Honolulu. And then to get anywhere else in the United States, you can just fly from Hawaii, or you can go through Japan. But I think no matter what, it's at least one extra stop. So even if you fly to the mainland US, you'd have to go through Japan or some other international city.
And how you get to Japan is you actually go over the North Pole. So when we went to the Philippines last year, we started in New York City, flew over the North Pole, and went to Tokyo in Japan, and then we took another plane down to the Philippines. So you can go a lot of different ways.
And how long does it take?
It takes probably about 20 hours total.
Yeah.
Including your layovers and stopping to have lunch. It takes almost a full day to get there.
And what's really cool is because of the time difference, when Trisha and I left Manila to fly to Hawaii, it was a 10-hour flight, but because of the time difference, we arrived We left at 7 p.m. and we arrived at 11 a.m. the same day. So we went back in time.
Yeah.
And when we go home to the Philippines, we'll lose a full day.
Yep. Ask Miss Costco to show you the international date line on a globe, and then she can show you how that works with all the time differences.
Okay, the next question is, how long have we been there?
And we've been there for about a year and a half, since last year in August of 2010, and we'll stay until next year in November. So we'll be there for a total of 27 months, so that's 2 years and 3 months. Okay, and our next question, what made you go to the Philippines?
Well, when we applied for the Peace Corps, you don't really have a choice of where you go. You can put in some preferences, but it's very broad. So if you put in a preference, you could say, I want to go to Asia, or I want to go to Africa, or South America, but you don't really get to pick your own country. So when we applied to be volunteers, we did just that. We applied to be volunteers, and we were willing to go anywhere. So the fact that we ended up in the Philippines was just based on the need that that country had and the skills that we already had.
And what are some other, so you teach in the Philippines, what are some other jobs that Peace Corps volunteers do?
There are Peace Corps volunteers who do coastal work. They're like environmental volunteers, and they go scuba diving. So they go scuba diving every day, and they swim under the water, and they do testing on the animals and plants that live under the water. And they gather different information about everything under the water. And then there are also volunteers who work in social work. So they work with homeless people or kids who are orphans. They work with some people who have learning disabilities or physical disabilities. And then education volunteers, we work at elementary schools and high schools.
And colleges.
And colleges, yep.
But the sectors change for every country. So education is prominent in most countries that Peace Corps serves in, but some of the other ones are not as common. And health is very popular in countries like Africa.
Yep, there are Peace Corps volunteers all over the world, and many of them are in Africa, and they do work with people who have HIV or AIDS. That's a big one. Okay, the next one is talking about, the next question is, do you ever get sick? I'll let Ryan answer this.
Yes, we do sometimes get sick. Trisha and I have both been fortunate not to get sick enough that we've needed to go to the hospital. But I've had what's called amoebas, which are like a little parasite that you get from maybe drinking bad water or eating bad food. And it goes inside of you and it lives in your stomach and your intestines, and it just makes you feel pretty awful. So I've had that, and it's just taken care of by antibiotics. And I've also had food poisoning, but there are illnesses in the Philippines because it's a tropical nation, like dengue or malaria, and those you get through mosquito bites. And it's like a very, very bad fever.
Yep, good.
The next question is, what types of animals do you see in the Philippines?
So most commonly, when you're walking down the street, you'll see dogs and cats that live on the street. They don't have owners, so they're like wild dogs and cats. And they eat garbage, and they go to the bathroom in the middle of the street, and a lot of them are really, really skinny because they don't get enough to eat. Sometimes people will have pet dogs, but they don't take them for walks, they don't give them dog food. Instead, they'll give them leftovers, and usually they're tied up on a short leash somewhere in front of their house. Sometimes people will have pet sharks or pet monkeys. That's really popular there. Can you think of anything else?
Sure. In my area, well, all over, no matter where you are, you will almost always see chickens and roosters. And where I live, like I said, is more rural. So I walk by goats, and they have water buffaloes in the Philippines, and they call them carabaos. And they use those in all of the farming. So in rice farming especially, they'll use the carabao because they're very strong to pull the plow that goes through the rice fields.
And there was a question about the spiders, the fighting spiders. So sometimes elementary school boys will have pet spiders, and they keep them in tiny matchboxes. And what they do is when you train your spider, you starve it. So you don't give it food for like 3 or 4 days. And then when it's time for a spider fight, it'll be really, really hungry. So it attacks the other spider because it's so hungry and angry. And then if you want it to go to sleep, you just put it in your hand like this and you blow on it. So sometimes if you're cold and you're blowing in your hands like this, that's how they will make their spiders go to sleep. And actually sometimes men will do it too, and they'll bet and they'll have big tournaments with the spiders, so it's very, very popular there.
And it's the same thing with roosters. Rooster fighting is very popular in the Philippines also.
Yep. Okay, the next one?
Next question is about the type of food in the Philippines.
So the most popular food in the Philippines is rice. You have it with every single meal, even breakfast, and it's not considered a meal if you don't have rice. So you have breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and then between breakfast and lunch, and also between lunch and dinner, you have merienda, which is like snack time. And everyone, even adults, will take a break from work and they'll have snacks. So this could be anything from chips to spaghetti to bread. So anything that doesn't have rice with it will be a snack. They have a lot of fried food, like fried chicken or French fries, fried fish, and then they also have a lot of noodles. So things like rice or pasta. They really like spaghetti, but they make it with milk, so it's really sweet. It doesn't taste like Italian spaghetti. What other popular foods are there?
Fruit salad is really different. So when we think about fruit salad, we think about fresh fruit sliced up like a salad. But in the Philippines, it's made with condensed milk and noodles. So you might find some corn, or it's very sweet and thick. So it's not like we think of fruit salad at all. And also what we consider a meal, like a sandwich or spaghetti, they eat those types of things as a snack because there's no rice, so it's not thought of as a meal. There's also more exotic foods, like there's a dish called dinuguan, and that's made out of pig's blood. So it's a dish made with pig meat, so pork, and then the base, it looks like chocolate soup, and it's called dinuguan, and it's made out of pig's blood. Pig in general, just like in Hawaii, they'll roast the entire pig whole.
So you still see its head when it's served.
And they'll serve it on a big platter so the whole pig is on the table. And that's really popular at big gatherings. It's seen as a sign of wealth when you're able to provide an entire pig.
And people's favorite part of the pig is the skin and the face.
Yeah.
So they always try to give us the skin and the face because that's the best part. And we always say, no thank you, just have the regular meat.
Because of how they roast it, the skin gets really crispy. So they'll make a dish to dip the skin in that's made out of the intestines of the pig. So it's very common in a lot of other countries where they'll eat every part of the animal so that none of it goes to waste.
And the popular drinks there are soft drinks or pop. So if you have a special guest coming over, or if you're very wealthy, you'll drink Coca-Cola, Pepsi, Mountain Dew, Orange Pop, and Sprite. Those are very popular there.